Alright, Schlockmeister fans, by request from Lael Hochberg, we're going to watch NOSFERATU, the original, 1922. Let's watch. The film starts out in Wisborg, someplace in the Carpathian Mountains or somewhere in Europe. And this is our star, Hutter. He plays, played by Gustav von Wangenheim. And that's his lovely wife, Ellen, played by Greta Schrader. Now this crazy-looking guy is named Knock. He's what they call a house agent, which, for lack of a better term, is a realtor. And he's got a letter from a guy named Count Orlok. And Orlok wants to move to Wisborg. So I guess Hutter works for this guy Knock, and he's going to send him off into the Carpathian Mountains to meet the Orlok. So he's got to say goodbye to his wife Ellen. This movie takes place in 1838, so we're talking a horse and buggy here. So he stops at this pub nearby and says he's going to Orlok's castle, and when he does that, the townspeople inside freak out. It's like, you're not going to see Orlok, are you? They basically warn him, don't do it. Whenever there's a blue tint, it's supposed to represent being nighttime. I think this is supposed to be a werewolf, however, in real life it's a hyena. So Hutter checks into this hotel and he discovers a book of vampires, which he doesn't think much of. He's going to toss it aside because he thinks it's a bunch of shit. He gets a ride, and then the guy says, I ain't going any further. This is as close as I get to Orlok's castle. He calls it the Land of the Phantoms. Hutter thinks it's utter nonsense, of course, but nonetheless, he grabs his bag and walks on. As he gets a little closer, somebody else stops to pick him up. A very creepy-looking fella, which is clearly Max Schreck, who plays Orlok. Hutter gets in, and off he goes. He arrives at Orlok's castle, and here we get our first glimpse, for sure, of Graf Orlok. Hutter and Orlok meet. They're about to sign some papers at the table, and all of a sudden Hutter cuts his finger on the knife, which sends Orlok into a little bit of a frenzy. Which kind of freaks Hutter out a little bit. But nothing much more becomes of this. As they're signing pictures, he sees a photo or a painting of Hutter's wife Ellen. She has a beautiful neck. Anyway, he says, I'm going to take the house that's right across the street from yours. Later that night, as Hutter was going to bed, Orlok, in full vampire mode now, pays a visit. Still, to this day, the ugliest screen vampire in cinema history. Back to Ellen. Orlok casts some sort of mysterious spell on her or something because she starts sleepwalking. Walking on the edge of the balcony there. And I don't know who this is, her brother or whoever, but he basically rescues her from falling. It seemed that Orlok was going to take a bite out of Hutter, but somehow Ellen made him go away. daytime, Hutter goes down to the basement or dungeon or whatever, confirms that our pal Orlok seems to be a vampire. He watches then, like the next day, Orlok carried a bunch of coffins, put them on a horse and buggy, and took off. Our realtor buddy Knock kind of plays the Renfield role here. He's now gone crazy, so they've locked him up, and he spends his time in the nut house eating bugs and spiders. Hutter managed to escape from the castle. I think he was locked up somehow. He got away, but he injured himself. But people saved him, and now he's got to get back home to Ellen. Orlok has managed to secure passage on a ship. And it's going to take several days to get to Wisborg, and along the way, everybody starts dying. Obviously, the Orlok is doing things. Right now, the captain and this guy are the only two left. They think it's an epidemic. This guy goes down into the hull to check the ship, and in a very creepy scene, Orlok rises. He's like, screw this. To the one guy left, you're on your own, pal. Eventually that boat pulls into Wisborg. One guy left on board and he's dead. Of course the Orlok's on board. And our good buddy Knock. Well, Knock's gonna escape. That's what he's gonna do. By overtaking the guard. His master's in town now. Hutter gets home to Ellen. He managed to get there before Orlok moved in. I'm not sure how he pulled that off, but he did. But Orlok does pull up, carrying his coffin in his right arm, as Orloks do. The town declares that a plague must be here now, so spread the word. Everybody get the hell out of here. Back in the Hutter household, Ellen is scared. Thomas is a little scared himself, it looks like. They know about that evil across the street. Knock has escaped, like I said, and the townspeople think he's the one responsible. So the chase is on. While they chase Knock, Orlok's just chilling in town. He's got his eyes on Ellen. And Ellen seems to sense his presence. The Orlok is coming. The cock is crowing outside. Did Orlok wait a little too long tonight? He gets to Ellen's bedside, and I think he takes a bite. Yes, the Orlok waited a little too long. And the morning is coming. And our Orlok burns. Ellen sat up and screamed for Thomas, and then she slumped over and died. Alright, let's talk about NOSFERATU. This movie came out in 1922. Obviously, it's a silent movie. A little bit of trivia here, which I'm sure a lot of people already realize. The movie was obviously based on Bram Stoker's Dracula. Murnau had no authority to make a movie about Dracula. There had been no Dracula movies up to that point. Nonetheless, he decided to slightly rewrite it, and by rewrite it, I mean just change Dracula's name to Orlok, and that's pretty much what he did, and filmed the rest of it kind of based on the novel of Bram Stoker's Dracula. Bram Stoker's widow sued him, or the film company, and she won. And it was ordered that all prints of this film be destroyed, and almost all of them were, but a few that had been already sent to other countries managed to survive over the years. Thus, we still have NOSFERATU around today, which is pretty cool. It's a movie that I first had on a beta tape. Actually, I rented it. Actually, I shouldn't even rented it. I actually checked it out of our local library in Two Rivers, Wisconsin, the Joseph Mann Library, and I copied it from there. Back then, I think the version I had was like 55 minutes. I don't know if it was sped up or what, but this movie here ran in like an hour and 21 minutes, I think. The soundtrack that you heard here was recorded at a later date. I don't think anybody knows for sure what the original soundtrack was. In fact, back in those days, sometimes they would have like an orchestra play while the film was shot or was played in the theater as well. There was a movie came out in 2000, which I actually saw in the theater, called Shadow of the Vampire, which was a fictional account of the filming of NOSFERATU. John Malkovich played the director, F.W. Murnau, and I think Willem Dafoe played Max Schreck, playing the role of Orlok. In fact, in the Shadow of the Vampire movie, the premise was that Max Schreck was a real vampire, thus why he was hired to play the role of Orlok in this one. So anyway, also interesting tidbit, F.W. Murnau, he died in 1931 in a car accident in California, actually. He's buried in Germany. In 2015, some people who they believe are some sort of devil worshiper, Satanist, whatever, broke into his crypt and stole his head, whatever was left of his head, and it's now gone. To my knowledge, it has never been recovered. I don't know what you want to do with F.W. Murnau's head, but it's gone. So, again, the movie itself, I think it stands the test of time. It's creepy. Max Schreck's portrayal of Orlok is super creepy. The Barlow, the vampire in Salem's Lot, the 1979 version, his look was based on this version here. There was another movie called NOSFERATU the Vampire, starring Klaus Kinski, which came out in 1979 or so, and a sequel to that, NOSFERATU in Venice. I have both of those films as well. Maybe I'll get to those at some point. But again, I think Leonard Maltin said, the ugliest screen vampire in cinema history, and I can't disagree with him. There is something really creepy about Max Schreck. He just looks creepy. He's perfect in the role. I've seen some other pictures of Max through the years. He always had his thin, gaunt face, but man, creepy, creepy, creepy stuff here. So he died, I think, in 1936 as well. So anyway, that's about it. You can get this movie. It's been in the public domain forever, so this is one of the first DVDs I ever actually had. I have had this DVD in my collection since 1997, 21 years ago. So it's available in several different formats, I believe, at this point. So go out and find it. I'm sure everybody's seen it. It's probably streaming on YouTube. Who knows? Let me know what you think about NOSFERATU, silent movie. So this one was for you, Lael Hochberg. Watch it. Bye.